All right, recording this 624, the 23rd of June. I believe episode 1920, something around there. We're getting up there in
Just about.
episodes. Yeah, we're getting up there in episodes. Um, Me and Nolan are back on the pod. No guests, but I wanted to talk about open up the conversation and talk about the Boston thing. Just a few hours ago, they had hired their new head coach, Udoka. He's been on the bench this past season with the Nets, previously with Philly. One of Pop's disciples. Definitely a great basketball mind. What did you thought of the hire when you heard about it, Noah?
Honestly, I mean, I wasn't really sure what direction the Celtics were gonna go after firing Stevens because honestly, I mean, I think me and you've talked about this a few times, and we both think pretty highly of Stevens as like an X's and O's guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, to see that they're going back to like Pop disciple and kind of picking from that tree, it shows me that while Boston didn't do anything flashy, they're also like going with a pretty safe hire and like a well-known commodity. And he's been like kind of one of those assistants that's always been talked of, just getting head coaching jobs the past few years. I remember seeing his name and a few different searches and stuff. So I mean, I think that like I said, it's a safe hire. It's has a good lineage of from Pop, but I really I don't know what to expect from the Celtics next year.
Yeah, me either. Because Jason and Tatum and Brown, they really like this guy. He helped. He was an assistant coach for USA basketball. So I
Mhm.
guess that's where the connection first came up. And then I guess Brad Stevens had to talk to his two stars, right? To get the confirm for the hire. You would think so, right?
Oh, for sure. You got to involve them at least to like get some suggestions or like feedback. I can't imagine they'd hire someone without checking with those two, especially after the way they dealt Kemba.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Speaking of that, right? So they trade like Brad Stevens 15 minutes on the job. He ships Kemba to OKC for and a
What an
pick tag.
indictment, man. Like the coach
Yeah,
you just had the past few years, the second after he's in charge, like the first move he does is to ship your ass out of town. Like, don't get
yeah.
me wrong, I'm sure Boston has plenty of reasons and like health is like a big factor and no one knows the health of Kemba Walker quite like the Celtics do because their medical staff has been, monitoring him the past year and a half, whatever. And I was so shocked by that move, to be
Yeah,
honest
me
with you.
too. I thought they would write it out for another year, but it just seemed like that knee just couldn't get right the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Bringing back Horford saves them a few million, which I think they're gonna use that money to re-sign Evan Fournier under the cap. So I guess that's how they're gonna go with it. They also got back Moses Brown, which I've been very high of with his
Yeah.
time in
Yeah, no,
OKC.
had a solid. He is not like an all-star or anything, but he's shown like being a role player
Yeah,
potential for sure.
yeah. Now they have a decent young center rotation with Time Lord and Moses Brown. So we'll see how they do it. Um, Another coaching change, man. A lot of coaching changes. Stan Van Gundy got the boot in New Orleans, which,
Kind of
man,
saw that one coming.
look. I understand Stan is not the typical coach. I like Stan. I really do. He's one of those
Oh
old
yeah, he
school.
was a great coach, especially in his era.
Yeah. He's a good old school coach. Makes you. He's gonna practice the shit out of you. He's one of those guys. Like if you love the game of basketball, he's your coach. But he just rubs the young guys the wrong way. And I feel like
Yeah.
Ingram didn't like him. Bledsoe, like I don't. Do you remember that Nick game he had? Like where Bullock had that game winning three, and it was just like a defensive like lapse in that team. Like that's just
Oh yeah, yeah, I do remember that. Now you say that.
yeah, bro. Stan Van Gundy lost the locker room.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't
And
think there's any doubt about that. I mean, like you said, Stan Van Gundy was a great coach, and like you said, I think that most of the problems are just like what you said. It just comes down to the locker room and like if he lost the players or not. And from everything we've heard this offseason, Zion's inner circle doesn't seem very happy with what's going on in the Pelicans situation. So I mean, I really think that getting rid of him, like, it was probably the best move they can make because I mean, you hire you hire Van Gundy and you bring in Steven Adams and you just try to play this old school brand of basketball that just like isn't where the league's at now. And I feel it's like it kind of passed them by a little bit.
And also you got to think about the season. No training camp, a short training camp, new roster. Coach hasn't coached in a few seasons,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I would have gave him at least the next year to see if that was really the issue. Clean up the roster
But
and see what's up. But man, they
you
gave him the
got
boot.
I think you couldn't keep him another year just because Zion's happiness has to be the number one priority for them right now. And if Zion's not happy with it, he's not having it, then I think you just kind of gotta like go with that. Like I know it kind of sucks that like players have that much power and stuff, but when you're a small market team like that and you just lost Anthony Davis after failing to put a team around him, like everybody was putting this Pelicans team in the playoffs after year one.
Yeah,
After
they underachieved. At least this is a playing team, Ross. At the
yeah,
minimum. At the
yeah,
minimum.
should be. I mean, the
Yeah.
West is really tough. Don't get me wrong, but Zion has been absolutely phenomenal. And between that and like the JJ Redick trade issue that was like apparently a big thing for Zion, his family didn't like how they did that with JJ either. But I mean, just like even trading JJ from that team, like if you're Zion, you have to be thinking like, what the hell, man? Like I'm trying to make the playoffs. Like you see Trey going to the Eastern Conference Finals, you see Luka doing shit. Like it would be frustrating for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that those are all the reasons on why he ultimately did get fired. They could not give him another chance. And yeah, it is what it is. Anybody in particular that you want to see get the job, or it doesn't really like whatever.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think I'm of the mind that a lot of these NBA coaches get too many chances.
I
And
agree. I agree.
like player and coaches, like I think like Stan Van like getting hired here is like the ultimate example of that. Is
And
this
I
like
and
sometimes new blood is just like, go out there and take a chance on somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like find an up and coming coach who you can maybe actually like catch something with, or do you want to go with like a quote unquote like safe option? And like you see what happened with the Pelicans, it just wasn't the fit, it wasn't the era, and it didn't have the upside that some of these other coaches had.
and like bro, and mark my words, I'm gonna cut this clip. Mike D'Antoni will get another job this season. I guarantee it.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised in
I-
the
bro,
slightest. He might get hired at fucking Dallas.
maybe it depends. That's actually the next situation I wanted to talk about. And Rick Carlisle and Mark Cuban decides to call it quits. They also fired their GM Donnie Nelson, who
Yeah.
has been there for 20 years. Been there during the Dirk process. Been there through, like he was the guy who I guess identified Luca. He was the one credited with that in that organization. And Rick Carlisle has been, in my estimation, a top ten coach throughout his tenure in Dallas. Consistent winning records. He won the chip in 2010, and it seemed like more of a Rick Carlisle thing. I don't know if Mark Cuban wanted to get rid of him. I think they was down to run it and just clean up the roster, get another guy up there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. And as far as the GM job, uh, pretty much Chris Stapps got him fired. I mean, we could all agree with that. That whole devastation of a trade. I just feel like whoever comes next into that Dallas seat, bro, I don't want no Mark Cuban involvement. Like just like how Don James Dolan has it over here, like he doesn't touch basketball anymore. Like I don't want Cuban ear in my ear. I don't want Cuban's mouth in my ear telling me my decision if
Yeah,
I'm
and
getting that job. If you understand what I mean.
absolutely. And like I don't know exactly where I heard this from because I listened to a million different podcasts and like I'm on Twitter way too more than I should be. But just like hearing that Dallas doesn't really want to, like, not that they don't want, but that if you're gonna fire Rick Carlisle and bring someone in, and like these are really the first, like you said, all these people have been here for a really long time. These are really the first hires that Mark Cuban has had to make since
Yeah,
buying ownership of this team. And
yeah,
just the fact that you hear chatter around the league that a lot of these people don't want to take that job because they feel that you're almost like a figurehead, that Mark Cuban is going to end up making the final call anyway. So like, who would want that job if Mark Cuban's ultimately going to have the final say and you don't really even get a chance to do what you want to do?
You see, like there's a lot of owners in the league that have have imprint on what goes on basketball wise. And
Definitely.
it's not successful. Like we've seen Dolan do it, and he messed up the Melo trade. He messed up our roster for the future. We've seen it happen. It's still happening with the Kings with Vivek, and they can't get out that hole. And they got the ninth pick, and they're not going anywhere for a few years unless they hit on that pick. And there's a whole bunch of situations where non-basketball people are making basketball decisions, mostly
Mhm.
based on uh filling in butts in the seats, more like bringing in old stars. Like you see it a lot throughout the years, and I've always was a big advocate of hire your guys and leave him alone. And that's what Dolan has done. Mind you, Dolan has hired idiots along the way, but he has let the idiots do their job,
Yeah, for the most part.
right? So you that's all I ask. And then I was listening to Chris Mannix, and he was saying on how like a lot of people, like if they should go, they try to grab Masai, and I'm like, I don't think Masai would want that job, like because of Cuban, and he has full autonomy in the Raptors organization, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be interesting what the Nick GM does with the Kristaps situation, right?
Oh,
Or they
sure.
write it out.
Ah, man, it's tough just because I don't know what you get for Kristaps at this point. You probably have to give an asset to get rid of Kristaps, and they can't trade a first round pick for another like 3 years or 2 years or something like that because of that rule. What is it, the Stepien rule or whatever, where you can't trade your first round draft pick in like consecutive years?
The Brooklyn rule.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, the last coaching change that had happened before last pod was Scotty Brooks, and I guess they couldn't reach a contract extension, quote unquote. I'm politely firing you in the press.
Mhm.
Yeah. um yeah, I never thought he was a, I don't know, he'll probably get another job. I never thought that he would take your team to the next hump. Good leader in the locker room. You remember the Wizards were pretty much out of it, and they dug themselves out of the hole and was able to get into the playoffs. But the Wizards know they could do better, and that's the reason why they didn't re-sign him ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, I think when they brought him in, the hope was ideally that Durant would come home to DC and he had connections with Scott Brooks from OKC,
Yeah.
and that would all work out. But when you go the next year, and don't get me wrong, Bradley Beal said he liked him, and Russ both said they liked Scott Brooks. But when you have to, I know there were injuries with Westbrook and everything, but you have to fight just to get an eighth seed with two perennial all stars on your team. It just, I don't know. I don't think Scott Brooks is the best coach. I don't think he got the most of his talent at OKC. And I just think that you can, like you said, you can do better if you're okay, or if you're the Wizards. You can take a flyer on somebody. You can. There's a lot of coaches out there. Rick Carlisle's still out there. You know, I mean, there's a lot of good coaching candidates out there. It's just the matter of, do you want to keep status quo just to like keep continuity, or do you want to shake things up and try to get a better result? And I think that a better coach can bring out the best of those two players a little better than they have been under Scott Brooks in the first year or two of that deal.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And there's still a lot of question marks for them, for that team in general,
Mm-hmm.
going into the off season. Are they gonna break up that tandem of Westbrook and Beal? What they're gonna do about their wing situation, because they're in dire need of guys who could play the wing and play elite defense, because bro, they're a turnstile on defense. Uh,
Oh,
I
sure.
like Thomas Bryant and Gafford, good center rotation. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
where that takes you in the future, but yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done with this organization in general. So yeah, the coaching jobs that are available: Portland, Pacers, New Orleans, the Magic, and now Dallas. So 5 jobs available. We'll see how that fills up throughout the summer. We'll see. The draft lottery happened last night, and we was gonna do the pod yesterday, but I decided, you know what, the draft lottery has to be in this pod because the Warriors got 2 picks. We've been talking about the Warriors
Mhm.
many episodes, and we're excited to see how they rebuild that team with 2 picks now. The Magic got 2 picks. The Raptors got 4. Gonna be interesting to see how they manage at 4. Yeah, the Kings got 9. Fuck y'all. It's good for y'all. I hope whoever y'all pick at 9 is a bust. The Hornets get 11. It's gonna be interesting to see who they get to Lamelo. What's the most interesting thing that happened, and what's eye popping for you in this lottery?
um, I think honestly that this is one of the deeper drafts we've had in a few years, and it's one of the rare times you can say probably the teams in the top four have like won reasonably. Like, I don't think any of those four teams will be disappointed to say that they're in the top four.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, like, I don't know. I think for Detroit, it's really cool because they have a nice little young core going, Sadiq Bey and everything, and like I don't know. They're after the Blake Griffin thing and the D Rose, like getting rid of like all those like the hopes that they had of like being a playoff team this year, just like selling them off really early in the season, even before the trade deadline. Like I just like good basketball karma for the first pick to end up in Detroit.
Yeah, yes, sir. And it's gonna be interesting to see how because Killian, they had drafted Killian last year, and Killian is a pure point guard,
Yeah.
and he doesn't. I don't know how he's working on in the summer, but right now he doesn't have the tools offensively to play the two, but he is and he's he's a very smart defender. His ball vision is amazing. He's a good basketball player, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he plays with Cade because Cade is a
Yeah.
6'8", 240 monster who could do everything on the court. And if he pans out like he's supposed to pan out, the Detroit basketball will be back in a few years. I have no doubt about that. The Rockets at 2, most likely selecting Jalen Green, which is going to be a nice fit. To see him play him that pick and roll with him and Christian Wood is going to be pretty fun. It's gonna
Yeah.
be pretty fun. The Cavs, bro. Like that's the one
Every
thing that kind
time,
of,
dude.
bro, because they got a core at 5 last year, and now they get the 3rd pick, and now they get to pick either between Mobley, Snugs. If they want Kuminga is gonna be a good prospect. So, man,
Even like they got so many first round draft picks since LeBron left. Like it's just insane to me. I don't understand the NBA. The Knicks haven't moved up in a draft lottery since the first draft lottery, and Cleveland gets a pick every year, even when they bust on them with like Anthony Bennett and Andrew Wiggins and trade it for like Kevin Love just to get LeBron back. Like I hate it. I hate
like,
Cleveland.
what do you think Cleveland does with the pick? Because they have to make a decision to pick Holland. So it's either that or draft a guard, or because you still got Garland for another year, then you have to pay him. Yeah, I don't know if you want to take a center because you have Jared Allen that you traded the first round pick for, and you intend to pay him, right? So
Yeah.
where do you think they go with that, Nolan?
Um, it's tough to say. I mean, I don't think that anybody is really sold on Sexton at this point.
Yeah,
Like, I think if you're saying that you're sold on Sexton, you're just kind of probably a homer. I mean, like, it just he's he needs the ball too much. He doesn't really distribute the ball that well, and I think that you could probably trade him and get something decent back and still draft the guard you want in the first round. So I think pairing someone else with Garland, or even just like letting all three of those guards like work in the backcourt for a year and like seeing what works with what and like who fits with who. I think that could be interesting. I think that's the route they'll probably go, is like stick with a guard or wing or something like that.
I know you've seen those Colin Sexton to New York tweets on your timeline. I know you because I
Yeah,
have.
I'm not about that.
Yeah, me either at all, man, at all. Because he put up some decent numbers, and he's gonna want to get paid, bro. Like, a
Yeah,
surplus of $90 million is going to be coming his way, but not from us.
people are saying like that the John Moran and like the Aaron Fox contract should be like a guide for that, thinking like he can, and like maybe he does develop into a player like that, but right now he's not that player, and I don't think the Knicks are in a position that they can really risk being. They can take that risk on, given like where they're at with their roster and like having to pay Randall, having to pay Mitch probably this next year, and then RJ's extension looming. Like you can't take a shot on a player like that if you're not sure what you're getting back.
Yeah, man. And the Warriors got 7 and 14. They had gotten Wiseman last year with I believe, the second pick. Um, what do you, I mean, I really do like Book Night for this team. Comes off the bench, give you a little scoring punch. Maybe they draft the guard from Mitchell from Baylor. Maybe they draft the guard from Baylor. But man, they got assets, man. They got assets now.
Yeah, that's
Now
what I'm
it's
saying.
numbers.
I think they'll make a trade. I don't think there's. I don't. They definitely won't draft two rookies. I don't think in the first round. I think they'll at least trade one of them.
Maybe. Would you any team in the top 14 that you would want the Knicks to trade up if there was like there was
Uh,
an opportunity? Because I don't know, 13, I don't know, 14, maybe 12 with the Spurs. I don't know if there's anybody in the bank in a lottery that they can't get at 19 that they're intrigued with.
That's it. Really depends on how those like first 10 picks go. I mean, if someone like Moody drops to 12 or something, and you can package all three of your picks, or three good ones, and then that one other second rounder, and get a player like that back. I mean, it depends on what the front office and the scouting department think of him. I mean, I love Moody as a player. And I think that if you can get a player like that, you should take a chance. But there's also the chance that that backfires, like you saw, like the Sixers whenever they traded up for Fultz. I mean, I don't think it's that big of a. I mean, that was like a pretty. That's an outlier. Usually, when you trade up, you're getting a pretty solid player. But I mean, I just think that if you're going to trade up, you really, really have to be sold on who it is. And I don't think if the draft falls the way I think it's going to fall, that there's really that many great trade up options. Because I don't think the Knicks have the assets to get into the top, past the top 8. And after that, it's kind of like, I feel like you're better off taking 2 shots than just trading them up and getting some guy up there. I don't think the difference is that much between 10 and 19 and is like that great that you should trade 2 picks away just to move up to that small of a increment of talent level.
Yeah. So another small storyline behind this draft lottery was that Chicago and Minnesota, they didn't get their pick. The trade for D'Lo. They traded if it landed outside the top 4, I believe. I've been seeing top 3, but it's top 4, I believe. And if it falls outside, then they lose their pick, and landed at 7. So boom, there you go, right there. And then Chicago. I believe Chicago, it was more of if it didn't land in top 5, then they would get their pick. And it did land in top 5, and it was the Magic. It's now the Magic pick because of that Vucevic trade. And, we ripped them for that Vucevic trade, and they shouldn't have never done it. And how they don't have their 5th pick, and this team is in dire need of talent. Like we said before, they're probably gonna get Lonzo and just spend the money because they're gonna have it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. And in Minnesota, like there's this guy, I forgot his Twitter handle, but he's a Minnesota fan, and he literally beefs with like all the fan base. And I follow him because he's like one of the most funny accounts on Twitter. And he gets
Yeah,
it, he
yeah.
gets it, he gets it in with everybody. and and that fan base pretty much said like they don't care because they got Bolmero. Remember when we did that deal with them and we had selected Bolmero for them?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so he's coming over. So it's pretty much like, another rookie coming in. And then they never even really had a chance to see D'Lo with Cat and Edwards for a whole season. So that's the direction they're looking at it. But they're just, hiding their sorrow. They're mad they lost their pick.
Oh, definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong, Ant Edwards is really good and everything. He's one of my favorite like young players in the league. He's like talent wise. I mean, I don't really love his like personality that much just because he's like knocked the Knicks a few times. But I mean, yeah, I think they have a pretty good young core there.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Um,
what you were saying is about the trade to Orlando. Orlando having 5 and 8 now, that's a really good haul for them. And you have the option to either, trade up into the top three probably, and or you can just take 5 and 8, which is what I'd probably do because 5 and 8 are both like top 10 picks. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not brain surgery. I'd rather have two shots at it and have two players. But I mean, again, that if you can get Cade or someone like that, Detroit wants to trade back. I don't think they will,
No,
but
no, 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 no. That is not happening. That
but
was.
I'd listen to calls though. I'd take calls for sure.
I mean, yeah, the Magic are, that's a good point, man, because the Magic are a very good position. 5 and 8, for a rebuilding team in this stage. Do you remember they still have RJ Hampton? They got
Mhm.
Cole Anthony. I love Cole Anthony. Let's see what he turns out to be. They're bringing back Markel Fultz. Isaiah, what's his name? Jonathan Isaac. We got to see how he pans out with all his injury history. Uh, their center position a little questionable. I know Wendell Carter had a good second half of the season, a Dookie, but I don't know. I don't know. I think he's a little undersized. I don't know. I was never a big believer of Wendell Carter, even though he put on the jersey. I don't know, bro. I don't know. But
I was a big fan of Wendell Carter coming out.
I don't know. I don't know, man. For a high pick like that, he's a good NBA player, but
I mean, what pick did he go?
he went 6 or 5. No, he went 5 a few years ago. Yeah, he went 5.
Yeah, it's a little high.
Yeah.
I think he's a top 10 talent for sure in that draft, but I don't know if he's top five.
Yeah, he was drafted high, and he was supposed to pretty much he was supposed to be what Triple J is now, right? A guy who could play the 4 and the 5, who's
Yeah,
big and
people
strong.
compare him to Horford a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's the type of big he's supposed to be. We'll see how he pans out. I'm cheering for him, but I don't know the expectations, and he's been hurt, bro. Like he's been
Yeah, that's the
hurt,
biggest thing
hurt.
is you just can't stay healthy.
Yeah, and I always say, man, the best, whatever they say, availability is the best of ability.
Yeah, I got you. I
Yeah,
got
yeah,
you.
whatever. But a lot on my mind. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. A couple of prospects that I would like to see it, like them draft. Now that we're thinking about it, Moody would be a great, wing player for them. Him and Isaac, they could both play a decent amount of offense and they could defend. I believe Moody can defend on the next thing. And also look, Kispert from Gonzaga, wherever he lands, is going to be a good fit because he could go to the Pelicans, he could go to the Magic, he could go to the Spurs, he could go to the Hornets, he could go to any one of these places. He could go 14 to the Warriors, and he could play that running gun style. Uh, man, I cannot wait for the draft lottery. I cannot wait to see what happens. Can't wait for the NBA draft. What do you know when is
I'm not sure to be honest with you.
it? Yeah, well, whenever it
I
is.
honestly I didn't know the draft lottery was yesterday until like you messaged me on Twitter about it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about it. I don't know, Knicks weren't in it. It didn't even cross my mind.
And because like I follow a few of these prospects like throughout high school and like in college
Uh,
and stuff. So it's kind of like it's one of those like because you get to pick, you get to see like where these guys actually gonna go. You could actually project. And I
yeah.
always been like I want to see what the lottery. I need to know when the lottery is because and all that heartbreak with the Knicks and stuff. You know how that goes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that year
Way too well.
we were supposed to get Zion, man. The year they changed the rule,
Yeah.
it's
Fuck
crazy.
Philly for that,
Yeah. That's another reason why I hate Philly sports, bro.
honestly.
Yeah, man. You know what? Speaking of Philly and the playoffs, we could jump right into that, right? Because man, the Hawks shocked the world and won Game 7. Uh, a few things on my notes that I wanted to say about this series. Tobias Harris. For him being the main threat on the perimeter, like a lead threat on the perimeter, and him not being able to cover up ground for Joel Embiid for him, because of his knee towards the second half. you see towards the second half, Joel missing shots, typical like fadeaway, mid ranges that are easy for him, easy post ups. He's missing layups. He's
He
falling on the
just settled
floor.
so much.
Yeah, he's settling for threes, and it's like it's those moments where I'm yelling at my TV like, "Yo, Tobias, like, yo, go get the ball, go attack, go pick and roll, go do something." And I don't know, Doc Rivers just doesn't call plays for him at the end of the game. I don't know, and he doesn't hit his shots too.
That's the
Um,
thing. I think it's hard to call plays for someone you who won't make the shot. And I mean, I think I said this to you yesterday, but like as much as like Tobias Harris is a good player, I just really don't think he's a max contract player in this league. And it, it just, I mean, obviously the Simmons thing is what it is at this point, and like that I think was a bigger issue than Tobias. But I mean, you can't be thrilled to see that you have two of your three max contract players fail to step up in a playoff series like that when your best player's hurt. A healthy Embiid masks a lot of those problems, and I think that if Embiid's healthy, they win this series probably in 5 or 6. But at the same time, you can't really knock the Hawks at this point. They're in the Eastern Conference Finals.
yeah,
I mean, they've earned it, and they beat teams in front of them, and that's all you can really ask of them. And I hope Milwaukee waxes them starting tonight, but I'm nervous about it, to be honest with you, because they just don't have. Chris Middleton's good, Drew Holiday's good, but they don't really have the perimeter threat like Trey and Herter are for the Hawks, and you can beat them, and I think they'll ultimately probably overpower them and just kind of like beat them in submission. But if Atlanta can keep spreading the floor the way they've done the first 2 rounds and keep their defensive level of intensity up, it's going to be a really good series.
I agree. And you live in the state of PA, and
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted you to give like, please tell the pod on how like the area feels about Ben Simmons and Tobias, this whole situation. Please tell me, because I know you follow Philly sports and all that. Please let the people know.
Yeah, with Ben Simmons, I think I think there's definitely a lot of people in your side of the camp that think people are really, really overreacting to 2 bad playoff series of Ben Simmons. But there were a lot of fans that were mad they didn't make the trade for Harden.
Mm,
And there are a lot of fans that now, after basing this whole premise of this whole process around building around 2 superstars, that if one of those 2 superstars is averaging like 9 points a game, that's makes it a lot harder. And your window, your margin of error is so much smaller because you have so much money tied up in these max contracts to Tobias and Ben Simmons that could be going to at least like fill out your roster and help out your depth. And I don't even think that depth is really an issue for them. They had a pretty deep team this
yeah,
year.
no,
When
they
they
had a
were
good
healthy, they were
roster.
the #1 team in the East.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's really hard to judge this season for the Sixers because you didn't have a healthy Embiid. And I know like you might never have a fully healthy Embiid.
Yeah,
But
man.
I mean like it just what they were for most of the season isn't what they were in the playoffs. And that makes it a really tough evaluation for people.
See, like my Ben Simmons take is this. Look, he had a bad series. I'm not giving him no excuses. Like he had a bad series. Okay, all right. But to diminish what he is as a player, to for the whole universe to just consider this man trash, bro. Come on, he's like a top 15 to top 18 player in the league. He's 6'10. He plays the point guard. He has top 5, top 3 vision in the league. He plays the best defense. He should be back-to-back defensive player of the year. His rookie year, he beat the Heat by himself. He didn't have Embiid his rookie year, and he beat them in a playoff series. I know y'all remember when he beat Brooklyn. He dropped like 30. He dropped like a 30-point triple double. Was in the crowd's face, flexing. I watched that game, bro. I watched that game live, and I'm like, I think that's the moment I really, really, really like fell in love with the player Ben Simmons. Like this dude is an animal, and like with all stars in the league. I'm not saying he's a like top 5 guy, top 10 guy, and that's where all the criticism is coming from. Like he is a guy. He's a second. He could be the second best player on the championship team. That's it. That's why I'm pulling the cap on it. And to
But
see,
if he was the second best player on a championship team, don't you think he'd show up more against Atlanta?
I agree. I'm not giving him no excuses. I'm not giving
Yeah.
him no
Yeah.
excuses.
I'm just saying. I'm just pushing
Yeah.
back a little bit.
Yeah. No, I he played awful this series. I don't know what happened to him. I know he doesn't shoot the ball, but nobody could stop you
Well,
downhill,
that's the
bro.
thing. Like, can you name a single aspect of Ben Simmons' game that has gotten better since he's been in the league?
I
You
think,
can't.
I think everything got better, but his jump shot.
I don't
I
think
think the
anything. I
defense. I
think.
think the
I think if
defense.
anything, he's regressed.
I think he, in my opinion, I think he became a better defender throughout the years. I think he got better at
He came
the.
out a pretty good defender, though. It's not like he learned a new skill or something, you know?
Mm, I don't know. I think he got better at defending on 1-on-1. I think he got better at defending in different coverages as well. And
Oh, he's a great defender. I like Ben Simmons. Just
I think,
I
and he's able to orchestrate your offense like elite, like bro, like I
but he
understand he didn't score.
wasn't.
I understand. It's just this one series. I mean,
Oh,
pick
two
another
series.
time when he did it. I mean,
Against
it's one series. Like it's one series. It's
he
one
didn't look
series.
great against Orlando or not Orlando, the Wizards either.
They won without Embiid though. I understand that. I understand that Wizard. I understand. I understand. But I don't know the Wizard situation. Like he played like bro, he was guarding like Beal and Russ,
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
yeah, like, come on, man. Y'all want him
But
to
everybody
play?
talks up his defense. I mean, he got torched by Beal and Westbrook, and now he's getting lit up by Trey Young. Like, if he's this great of a defender and it's like such a great skill for him, don't you think like they'd have an answer for the pick and roll?
I don't have a rebuttal to
I'm
that.
not
I
arguing.
don't because I'm trying to fight. I'm trying to defend. I'm trying to be double advocating for him. But like I
It's
understand
just
where y'all
tough,
coming
man.
from. Yeah, it
Maybe,
really
maybe I'm a
is.
little too close to it from a
Yeah.
PA size, but I'm frustrated, man. I'm
Yeah,
frustrated.
man.
I didn't expect him, to be a great 3-point shooter, but I didn't think he'd be afraid to shoot the ball.
You know what's frustrating to see Knicks fans saying that they don't want Ben Simmons on the team,
I don't want Ben Simmons.
bro.
I'm that Knicks fan.
He wouldn't. Number one,
Okay,
number
okay.
one.
My thing is you're sitting here telling me how much you don't want Kyle
No,
Lowry
no, I want
because
Kyle.
this.
No, no,
Oh no, I'm sorry, DeMar DeRozan because of spacing, and you want to bring in Ben goddamn
no,
Simmons.
because that's all DeMar does though is score the ball though. Like he's an okay defender, but bro, like the reason why you're bringing in DeMar is to score, and we don't need that mid-range game and right now. But what we can use is another big defender that you could throw on anybody. What we can use is another point guard who could initiate the offense way better than Peyton. And what we can use is a guy who come on, come on. I don't. He helps our team more than he doesn't. We're
I
gonna
don't
get
know.
more points in transition. We were
I think
last in
there's a
transition.
certain ceiling on players like Simmons and to some level like Westbrook who can't reliably hit open threes. And like this modern day NBA, I think it really limits the spacing on the floor for your offense. I think it causes a lot of troubles that you see in the playoffs. I mean, do you think like obviously Ben Simmons do you think he makes a difference in the series, the Knicks versus the Hawks? He didn't make a difference against the Sixers.
And that's why I asked myself that does he make a difference in that
And
series?
I don't think so. I think Tibbs is such a good schematic, like defensive coach that you don't need a
You don't
star
think it's
level
tighter? You
defender.
don't think it's tighter?
I don't really think it is because I mean, like he didn't stop anybody in Atlanta when he was with Philly in the next round. Like it's like the defense didn't do anything. He got the same results.
Yeah. No. I see all your points. I really do, and it's very hard to argue against it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. I don't
Tough
know,
call,
man.
man. It really is because I do
Yeah.
like Ben Simmons as a player. I really do. but
and to say and
it's
his
just the ceiling on him. I don't know what it is. I don't know how much better he gets, and I don't know. You're seeing it now with Philly, like if he can be that second guy.
if say like they trade him to Portland, Portland becomes a better team, right?
Definitely, but I think that's yeah, that's what trade I actually talked to my buddy about a few times is McCollum for Simmons. I think that's a trade that works out really good for both teams. I think Portland's defense gets a lot better. I think that you have someone that when you double team Dame Lillard, that you can play 4-on-3 and have Ben Simmons distribute to the open shooter or attack the rim if he decides he wants to start attacking the rim again. And I mean, I think that McCollum to the Sixers is like exactly what that offense needs. And I think that I think Doc is a decent enough coach defensively, and that Embiid is a good enough defender that you can take that. Like, I don't think the loss of Simmons is completely like makes them a trash defense or anything like that. So I think they can make up for that loss defensively, but I think the amount of room that'll create on the floor to have someone that can run the pick and roll and shoot threes like CJ would is probably the best fit that you can reasonably expect to get for Ben Simmons after that playoff series, because he hasn't helped his trade value like at all.
Yeah. Remember Ben Simmons made a third All NBA team last year too. Remember
Yeah,
that. I remember that.
no, he's
But
good. I like
yeah,
him.
yeah. But it's hard to be like, yo, look at his, like his skill set won't help our team. Like it's hard for me to say that, to sit up here and be like, no, like I won't put together like a package. Like I'm not saying 2 first-round picks or anything, but a pick or
I ain't gonna give him away.
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. They're gonna look for substantial talent returning back, right?
That's
Maybe
why I'm thinking like CJ McCollum is like the exact like level of player and like fit that makes sense there.
I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast and he was saying Orlando. Orlando gives up some of their assets and they get Ben Simmons, the Sixers get a little younger in the perimeter and they pretty much put a team around Ben Simmons because Ben Simmons is only 23, 24 years old. He hasn't really hit his prime. He's still a young guy.
Mhm.
And he still has a lot of years left in the league. And it's gonna be interesting to see, if he does stay in Philly or he doesn't. It's gonna be interesting to see. And we're definitely gonna be here to talk about it. So
Yeah, for sure.
the next series, Brooklyn versus Bucks, it goes 7 games. After that 0-2 start, me and you were pretty much like, yeah, this is over with. But Kyrie went down, and then Harden tried to come back, and Harden didn't look the same. And KD was playing out of his mind, 35, 10, and 5, insane percentages. Almost sent them home, but his foot was on the line, which is pro. Yeah, man. Like he almost beat him by himself, pretty much, because Joe
Yeah.
Harris was a no-show. Harden shouldn't even be playing. Like I don't know what was going on over there, but yeah, what you thought, man? What's your thoughts after they went down 0-2? Because I believe that's the last time we spoke on the pod.
Yeah, it sounds about right. Like we said, I mean, I really expected after that start that it seemed like after those first two games, genuinely that Brooklyn was the more talented team, even though Milwaukee was so much more healthy than them. And I think that if you're if you're the Nets, you I don't know what you do right now. I mean, like you basically just have to stand pat
Yeah.
and hope things are like you don't have a lot of cap space. DeAndre Jordan's making $20 million the next 2 years and didn't
God
even
dang.
fucking see the last playoff series. So like,
Yeah.
you have three Hall of Fame players making a ton of money. You have DeAndre Jordan making a ton of money, and you don't have a lot of draft picks because you traded away everything to get James Harden. So I mean, I think if they're healthy next year, which I mean isn't like that crazy to think that at least 2 out of 3 of them will be fully healthy next year, that they're as dangerous as anybody still, because those three players alone are enough to win you a series. yet alone with everybody else on their team and everything. So I mean, I think when they're healthy, Brooklyn is still probably the team to beat in the East next year. But you're definitely seeing that they aren't as like head and heels above everybody as we thought. Like I at least I thought personally that they were. I didn't think they would lose to the Bucks. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I kind of underrated this Bucks team a little bit, but I really thought Brooklyn was gonna win 5, 6 games.
You got to think, right? It's really hard, right? Because because you could tell like there was a big disparity when Kyrie was on the court. Like you could tell, like, oh, the Nets are way better than the Bucks. They're gonna go on and win the championship. Harden's gonna come back at some point in time, but it looks like injuries really got the best of them in this series. Uh, I know you were ragging on Middleton, but Middleton played really well.
No,
After
he
game
did.
two,
He
those,
did.
yeah, he really did. He went tit for tat with KD with the mid range game. I really thought he played extremely well. Giannis was getting Giannis is gonna be Giannis. Giannis got his points, his rebounds, his assists. They just didn't have the personnel to roll up on him consistently. Blake Griffin would do it okay in the first quarter or so, but when Giannis is constantly down your throat 48 minutes and he's going downhill, bro, he's gonna get his numbers. The disappearance of Joe Harris was kind of disappointing because if they would have got the regular Joe Harris, not even like a postseason version of him, not a playoff Joe, just like a regular season
Regular
game.
Joe.
Yeah, they got even regular Joe. They probably would have beat the Bucks, right? Because
Yeah.
they were just daring him to shoot at some time. You could tell he lost his confidence. Drew Holiday was okay defensively. No,
Defensively great. Offensively, just really has you scratching your head sometimes.
yeah. His game is really weird offensively, right? Like it's all predicated on timing. He doesn't really have a bag, bro. Like he'll try to get past you and then flip it up a little, like real quick on you.
Yeah, he's
Like
definitely someone that relies on like his defense and athleticism more than like his like skill.
yeah, yeah. Um, they match up with the Hawks. You touched on it a little bit. Uh, at the end of the day, I just don't think they match up with them. I think with the combination of Giannis and Middleton and Holiday and the toughness of PJ Tucker, the Hawks will fight. I guess that's just how they are built this year, I guess. But man, I think it's a tall order. It's not a discombobulated Philly team. This team is together, and they see the chip because if you look out west, you got a banged up Clipper team, and you have to go through the Suns most likely, right? So
Yeah.
they see the
Well, then
chip.
again, Clippers have been down 0-2 every series so far. So,
Yeah.
but no
Uh,
Kawhi. That's big.
that's big. That's big. Matter of fact, that could be the last series we talk about right now. The Suns and Clippers.
Mhm.
Um, the game last night, man. Like you said,
Campaign.
Cameron Payne, bro. Like, man, we talk about him before, but we have to speak on him again because out of Murray State, not in the league, come back and to do this on the biggest stage is ridiculous, bro. And like, what's the funny thing about Cameron Payne? His shooting, like the way he shoots the ball, bro.
It looks awkward as hell.
But it goes in.
Yeah, that's
It
all
goes,
that matters.
yeah, man. And Van Gundy was like, you just don't mess with a guy that's, putting the ball through the hoop.
Yo.
Aiton has surprised me this playoffs. I know he
I'm
would
sorry, just
be.
real quick. I think like, campaign's only what, like 26?
Yeah. He's super young. He's like in his mid
I mean,
twenties.
he was like a lottery pick, and then it was just like a bum for a little bit. But I mean, like figuring out the game of basketball at age 26 isn't like, like crazy. Like a lot of players develop like a little later like that. So it's cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. Another like Aiton was like another player that surprised me a lot through this playoffs. When he got drafted, he was a guy that I
Oh,
was,
that hoop, bro.
yeah, I was high on him, but uh, I guess he could be a perennial all star, maybe. I know he was gonna be a solid big. I know he was gonna be, at least at minimum like an 18-10 guy. I like the
Mm.
way he was physically ready for the NBA. But I didn't expect this defensive versatility from him. Him being able to move his feet, him to learn from Rudy Gobert, because the Clippers, how they had him, away from the basket, and his tendency is, I gotta defend the rim. So every time they cut through, Terrence Mann was open in the corner, Reggie Jackson was open in the corner, all that stuff. And they're able to expose, and they can't do that way, Aiton, because Aiton is able to move his feet, and he's able to pretend like he's rim protection, pretend like he's being rim protection, and slide his feet back to the corner, which is amazing. I seen him do that like 7 times in a row. I'm like, shit, this nigga will move.
Yeah, he's light on his feet, man.
Yeah, man. And yeah, I think the way that Monty Williams has the Suns playing, man, it's and I told you last pod, does this feel like a finals run? And he was like, I don't know.
I
I
think that
don't
was before
know.
Kawhi got hurt, though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
But
changes it a bit.
I don't know. I feel like I felt the magic from the TV, man. After that Denver, I was like, man, it feels like a finals run. It feels like it,
Yeah.
but I don't know. But all
It's the
finals,
thing too. They did this first two games without Chris Paul playing.
yeah.
He's
And
coming back game three.
yep, yep. And we don't know the timetable with Kawhi, and we never really got to talk
I don't
about.
think he's coming back.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's over with. I
Maybe
think,
if they made the finals or something, but I don't think this series.
and
Even the finals, I don't think he'd be a shell of himself if he came back at all.
you might risk injury again. We saw that
Yeah,
with
and like
KD.
for someone that already has like an injury history like Kawhi, I can't see him being like too thrilled about that idea.
And that's unfortunate because, man, this was their year, bro. This was their year. They had to get through the Suns and probably the Bucks. And with a healthy Kawhi, I got the Clippers. But man, the way the Suns are playing, and like you said, like that is an all-time out of timeout ending the game play. Like there doesn't get better than that. The alley
Yeah,
oop
what
to
a pass
Aiden.
from Crowder, man.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. Did you see Stephen A's reaction?
Oh, him and Wilbon,
Yeah.
yeah.
that was my reaction for real. I'm
Oh
like,
hell yeah, dude! I was like, whole like I barely even like caught it. I wasn't even like expecting. I don't know why I wasn't expecting an oop when there's like less than a second left, but like I was just like, holy shit, dude, that was such a great play. And Aiton just, man, he's special. He's special. He's gonna be a good big. He's gonna be a good big for. I don't know if he'll be all time or anything like that, but I mean, he's gonna be a solid big in the league,
I want
and
to
he's
get
athletic enough to, you know, move around with some of these smaller fives too.
yeah, AN is definitely, you could call him, the Western Conference version of Bam. Very though, him and Bam are really comparable. I think AN has a better offensive game, but
Yeah, I think Bam's a little better defensively and Aiton's a little better offensively, but
definitely comparable, right?
yeah, no, they're definitely similar.
Yeah. I want to give credit to Paul George, Paul George averaging 35 and 5.
He hit what would have been the game winner if it wasn't for that
Yeah,
crazy inbound play.
he's been going tat for tat with D Book. Like
Uh-huh.
he has that third quarter in game one, him and D Book, they were going right at each other. Game two as well. He missed those 2 free throws, which is just like, bro, like come on. They was right
Yeah.
there. They were right there, man. They were right there. They iced the game.
Yeah, that
And
was definitely the turning point.
man, but he has been hooping. Reggie Jackson has been hooping as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah. The man's a fraud, bro. Sorry, sorry, but
Oh,
next season we'll see how he plays next season. But in this moment of time, he is playing out of his mind,
baller.
bro. I don't know if he like, I, I don't know, man. If him
Fountain of
and Mike,
youth, baby.
if he spoke to Jordan or I don't know what happened, or Kobe is playing through him or
Some of
something.
Michael's secret stuff at halftime.
But yeah, he is hitting big shots, but it's just not enough. Like, Reggie Jackson cannot be a second option scoring wise, and it's showing. It really is. But it's just hard to not think, like, if they did not have if they if Kawhi wasn't on the court, like how different would that game would it went at wire to wire like it has? Because the Suns, like the Suns are just balling, man. I don't know. How do you feel about that situation? If Kawhi was on the court, would they be down 0-2?
Um, I mean, they were down 0-2 in every series with Kawhi, so I
Yeah,
wouldn't put it past them.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah,
it's just if you're the Clippers, I mean, that last loss yesterday, it really has to hurt, losing in the final second like that.
yeah, yeah,
But you're coming home and you just push this team to like within 1 second of winning a game on the road, and you've been down 0-2, like I said, in every other series. I don't think they're panicking yet. And as much as I think the Suns probably will ultimately win this series, I'm not going to say it's like out of the question for LA to win these next two at home, just like they did in the past series.
No, no, yeah, you got a point. You got a point. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see a little bit. I would like to see Terrence Mann, show up a little bit more,
Oh,
like
he had a
at
huge few
home.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a huge game against the Jazz, man, in game 6, I believe.
Yeah. I don't know how sustainable that is, but
Yeah, but
if you're
man,
getting it, I'll take it.
he shot the shit out the boy in game 6, and
Yeah.
and man, like I didn't think they would get over that hump because I believe the last time we spoke, they were in that middle of that series, and it was a little bit doubtful if they could even get out that series because um, even with Kawhi, they were having a little bit struggles, like putting the ball in the hole and defending that group of wings. But I guess they figured it out. Ty Lue, I don't the credit, credit to Ty Lue, pushing buttons, seeing what works, combinations because different combinations work in different series.
Mm-hmm.
He's played Luke a little bit more. Uh, Terrence, man, Beverly has seen the court. Rondo has laced up his shoes now. I guess Rondo's playing now because Rondo had got a few DMPs throughout the playoffs, which is kind of weird because they traded Lou Williams for him, and it's like he was
Yeah.
catching
Lou Williams
DMPs.
is doing pretty well in the playoffs, too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think with Reggie Jackson, those two are become like a little bit redundant. Like they're too similar of players to have both of them. I think bringing in Rondo is a good call, but the fact that he's not playing in some of these games kind of makes you raise your eyebrow a little bit.
yeah, for sure, for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens in the playoffs to see because tonight I believe game 1 of Hawks and Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure me and you we have the Bucks winning this series. Uh, as far as game 1, anything you want to see the Hawks do, to see them come out because it's gonna be interesting to see how they play Capella with the Brook Lopez and the Giannis. Do they throw him on Giannis or does Collins? How does Collins defend them? Uh, how does Milwaukee handle the Trey Young situation? Like, how do they defend the pick and roll? I don't know. I don't know if they toss Brook Lopez in a pick and roll. I don't know how good will he be, defending it. There's a lot of question marks that I got for this series.
Um, to be honest with you, I've picked against Atlanta every single round in the playoffs so far,
Yeah.
and they proved me wrong. But I'm not backing down from it, and I really, really hope that Trey Young has a horrible series and Milwaukee just manhandles them in like 4 or 5 games. I doubt it'll happen, but I can hope.
Yeah, yeah, man. Hopefully. But on that note, we're gonna end this episode. Make sure to follow me and Nolan on Twitter. Make sure to follow the Corner Three Pod on Twitter as well, and to look up our website. We're gonna have articles soon. You could check out all our episodes on there as well. We upload all our episodes. Check it out on Spotify, all the major platforms, and yeah, pretty much. Peace.